In June of 2013, my husband Michael and I had envisioned a serene week at our old family farmhouse in rural Maine. It was meant to be the ideal escape, a moment for our family to rejuvenate away from the hustle and bustle of the city. However, Michael, serving the U.S. Army, was unable to secure leave at the last moment. Rather than abandon our plans, I chose to proceed with our two children, Emily, who was 10, and Jacob, who was 8. The farmhouse, nestled a few miles outside of Ellsworth, is enveloped by acres of wild fields, a rustic structure built in the late 1940s. My grandfather's place has always offered a sense of solace, with its creaky porch and the aroma of aged wood. At times, it can feel quite remote. The cell reception is unreliable, and the security is just basic locks on the doors and windows. We arrived on a bright afternoon, and the kids eagerly raced around, thrilled to explore the orchard and the little flower garden in the back. Everything felt just right that first day. I unpacked the groceries, checked the plumbing, and experienced a gentle wave of relief, even in Michael's absence. I felt content to share this corner of my childhood with Emily and Jacob. The next morning, I stepped onto the porch with a cup of coffee. I noticed something odd. The old deck chair near the railing wasn't where it had been. It looked like it had been pulled halfway across the porch. My first thought was that the kids had moved it, but when I asked them, they both insisted they hadn't touched it. Later that day, I also realized a small garden statue, a weathered gnome, had shifted several inches from its usual spot. Little details, but enough to make me uneasy. With no cameras or alarms in sight, my options were limited. I meticulously checked the locks and resolved to stay vigilant. I attempted to mask my unease, yet my thoughts kept returning to the peculiar act of shifting a deck chair or a garden statue. Such a triviality. That afternoon, Emily and Jacob were playing tag near the bushes bordering the backyard fence. While I was inside washing dishes, I suddenly heard Jacob's yell. I dashed outside, bracing for a scraped knee or a bee sting, but instead found both kids looking visibly shaken. Jacob leaned in and murmured about a figure in a white mask lurking behind the foliage. Emily acknowledged his words, noting how the man had crouched low upon being seen. I rushed to the fence, but the area was empty. I made an effort to remain composed. There were a few neighbors along the nearby road. Perhaps one had wandered onto our property for some strange reason. I informed the kids that we would remain indoors for the remainder of the day, just to be cautious. Night fell without any further events. We secured the doors and settled in the living room. The three of us nestled together. The pull-out sofa, with every creak echoing through the house, had my nerves frayed. Yet, aside from my own restless thoughts, nothing else transpired. The next morning, I spotted footprints in the soft dirt beside the farmhouse. It appeared someone had circled the entire building, and my heart raced with the unsettling realization that this was no mere figment of my imagination. Someone had clearly been wandering the property overnight. The rest of the day was spent in a state of heightened alertness, every rustle igniting my suspicion. That evening, after tucking Emily and Jacob into bed, I gazed out the window toward the garden. My breath caught in my throat as I noticed a tall figure standing near the gnome statue, partially obscured by the shrubs. The figure remained still, as if examining the house. I froze, unsure of what to do next. Then, he turned his head in my direction. Even from afar, I felt the weight of his gaze. It was fleeting. The moment he spotted me, he bolted, racing across the yard and vanishing into the same line of bushes where the kids had seen him. Early the next morning, I reached out to the local police department. An officer named Benson arrived within the hour. He searched the property, looking for footprints or signs of forced entry.